Now we're rolling. There we go. Good evening and welcome. It's a little bit past our usual hour, but that's all good. Welcome to the Attitude Shift. It is me. I'm Donna M. Butler, and I'm here to shift your attitude. I just needed to shift mine, actually, in getting prepped for this show. And I couldn't do it. I couldn't do any of it without Siobhan Shaw, who's been sweating behind the scenes like crazy. I've been in hair and makeup. You like the hair? She's been sweating behind the scenes trying to get us live on the air tonight. How are you, darling?
I am seriously frustrated. I'm not depressed, which is our topic tonight, but I am frustrated. Anyway, so yeah, we had to shift very quickly on the fly tonight because once again we had trouble with our Google Plus Hangout.
I'm not intending on making these faces. You can best believe. I'm just having a little lighting difficulty right above, like I have an arc over my head, you know. I'm not in the bathroom tonight.
That is just your halo, Donna. You're
No.
shining. Or The Shining. Isn't that a horror movie?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is.
So you got a new hairdo today?
I did. You know what? And it's part of a rant.
Please
So
rev your engine.
can
Let's
I,
get going.
I'm about to rev it really hard, and I'm gonna do it. I haven't revved an engine hard in a long time, but I feel it's time tonight. Okay, yes, this is a new hairdo, and you got to see bits and pieces of it today on Facebook. As many of you know, I have a side gig, as one would like to call it, a little side job. Well, I walked into a new place in my town, Zachary. I'm gonna do a shameless plug for Hair Plus in Zachary. I walked in, met the owner, and we started talking. We have mutual people that we know really well, and boom, bam, next thing you know, there I am. Okay, so not ranting yet, about to rev. Then I get a call, can't say the name, from someone in the competition in the same town, who I know really well, who has taken care of me for many years, keeping, the hair right, getting me that fantastic red, all around nice person. And I get a call from that person, and they are quote unquote disgusted that I have taken this job. Now I'm going to rant. Okay, so I took the job, and I guess they feel betrayed. I don't know, and frankly, I don't really care. Because if you're not paying my bills, if you're not taking care of my house, if you didn't offer me the job, which you had a chance to get somebody like me to promote for you and do all these great things that I'm doing for Hair Plus and Zachary, if that's what you wanted, you should have gave me the job. Because I've been here for 4 years. And so I took job with the competition, not because I don't like this person, not because I wish this person would fail completely, because they have great products. She has a great personality. She has good staff. I mean, hell, I still may need her to get certain things for me, as I may have something at my place that she doesn't have, and she may have something at her place that I don't have. It's about working together. You know, we just did the freaking show on Crabs in a Bucket.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Please
And
tune in to Crabs in a Bucket. Look in our
right,
archive shows and read that and watch.
right. And I'm sad, but not sad. I'm disappointed because I expected more of this person because, as she quoted, we are friends. Well, friends don't expect other friends to throw away opportunities to help them move along in life just because they don't want you to. If you went to work at Burger King, Siobhan, does that mean I'm no longer going to eat McDonald's? Hell no. I like McDonald's. I like McDonald's fries. You can go work at any restaurant you want. That doesn't mean I'm going to give up eating what I like at the restaurant I like. So I've kicked rocks. And the thing is, they called me and they left a voicemail. Now, I could have called back and left another voicemail, but I feel right now that if I felt I had something to apologize for, then that would warrant a call. But I'm going to let this one marinate. My attitude dictates that I let this marinate, that I know what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And if there's not room enough in this town for two people that are trying to better themselves, have businesses, and take care of their families, then you know what? Either The company I'm with will go, or she'll go. Or we can both stay in the same town and work together. I don't know. Stay tuned. That's my rev. I feel better.
Well, it sounds like there's an opportunity for both companies to stay, and you're just in the middle of it. And I think that somebody can't tell you that you can't work somewhere to make money to put food on the table for your family, because it's
It's
it doesn't
detrimental.
it doesn't fit their wheel, you know,
Exactly.
their
It's
idea of friendship. That's not how it works. Friendships are a support network. You know, she should be supportive of you and say, you know, how can we work together? We're sort of competing businesses, and how can I love you, and I've done a lot for you, and I know you've promoted my business a lot. You're great at it. I'm sorry that I can't afford to take you on as an employee, but what can we do to do some, cross promotion and
absolutely.
things like that. It's very simple. Don't get bent out of shape. Just shift your attitude.
Exactly. And I would be more than happy to do exactly what I'm doing there. But you know what? Like you said, don't get bent out of shape. Ship. I almost said something else. Shift your attitude, and we're going to shift and roll, kick rocks over that. And you know what? I'm ready to get to the meat of the show.
Well, a few weeks ago, we did a show on depression, but we were talking about people that are just pissed off with life. They're just unhappy with their life. They're not clinically depressed. They just love to live in misery, and misery
Mm-hmm.
loves company. So they try to get everybody around them to be miserable. And we were talking about this sort of little mini depression, and we called it depression, but we really were very clear that this was not clinical depression we were talking about. It wasn't major depression that we were talking about. It wasn't people weren't you didn't need to treat it with antidepressants and therapy. You really
Right.
are your own best antidepressant in this case, where you have you just got the blues, right? You're kind of
Right.
miserable. Things aren't, you're poor me, you're playing the victim mentality. So that was that show. This week we felt we needed to talk about clinical depression, major depression, because we lost Robin Williams this week to major clinical depression, and they call it severe depression. And he committed suicide, apparently. And I think that it really hit home to a lot of us because he's from our generation. Lauren Bacall passed away, but she was from my mother's generation.
Right.
It didn't hit us the same way. And also, Robin Williams is a funny man. So how could a funny man be depressed?
And I think that is what touched me to, when we were talking about what to do for the show, is just that, because I did grow up with Robin Williams. I did watch Mork from Ork. I did Nanu Nanu all the time. And Popeye, I watched Popeye last night with him in it. And it's so sad because, it's behind the mask. I'm fine. I'm fine. He did an interview with Robin Roberts on Good Morning America not too long ago, and she was complimenting him on being a funny man. And he said it was his day job. And to me, that was a hint right there. That was his day job. Well, what the heck is he doing at night? Is he somewhere sad, depressed, when the lights are gone off and the camera's off and no one's hunting you down for an autograph? How does that feel? And him being 63 years old and having what they said wasn't a relapse, but he checked himself into rehab,
mm-hmm.
To get a hold of, whatever was going on, whatever demons or whatever. But being 63 years old, that had to be a struggle in itself, to have to go into rehab and face the music, face that something's not right. And then to know that you are not sharing that with everyone. And I know there's privacy. I know that celebrities want privacy. But I feel that if you're a person that everyone looks to, that maybe this could have been something shared. because we knew about his alcoholism. And then there were some that are coming forth now saying they knew something about his depression, but it wasn't something. They talked about the alcoholism more than they did the depression. It's okay for us to walk around and say we're freaking flaming alcoholics, but don't let us be depressed.
Well, because there's a stigma attached to depression. It is a mental illness. Clinical depression is a mental illness. If you go to Wikipedia, and I did before, major depressive disorder, or MDD, is also known as clinical depression. Yeah. Major depression, unipolar disorder, or is recurrent depression, and I'm reading that right from Wikipedia. It's a mental disorder characterized by a pervasive and persistent low mood that is accompanied by low self-esteem and by a loss of interest or pleasure in normally enjoyable activities. And it goes on. It's a syndrome. It's it needs to be treated, and it needs to be treated with antidepressants. It doesn't mean you're always going to be on antidepressants, and therapy. So now we don't know if he was being treated or anything like that.
No, we don't.
But the thing is when we can't look at this major depression, severe depression, or at severe depression or clinical depression as a bad thing. It's a disease like anything else, like MS or cancer. It's treatable, and it may take a long time, just like any other disease. And yes, it may kill you because you may not be able to get over it. Right? You may get down in the dumps, perhaps just like Robin Williams did that day, and just decide that was it. And he was successful.
So how do we talk about that pink elephant, white elephant in the room? I mean, I know that there was family there. It's kind of like reminds me of the Michael Jackson thing. Here's Michael Jackson on propofol. Here he is at night hooking himself up to a bag, and no one knows about it. No one knows about it. Here is Robin Williams, who has 3, adult children, a wife, a personal assistant, and probably a host of other people that I believe, like you said, that white elephant in the room, And if he's the person, like they said Michael Jackson was, if you didn't do, what he said, or, push you away and you don't get to come back in the inner circle, then, that's a person that's untreatable. That's a person that's untreatable. They're not being treated. So, I'm a little angry. I'm not angry at his situations because, that's his situation. But what about when we see it in our own selves? It's sad that he's gone, granted. I mean, gosh, he's, a host of memories for so many people. But what about when it's our own white elephant? What about when we don't feel, and I'm putting the air quotes, normal? I can say, for me, I've been not feeling normal for the past few months. And as you and I talked, I've been to a doctor, and I've gotten different medications. And finally, and you knew I was going to the doctor this week, and I didn't really go into detail with you because for some reason I wanted to wait, and I guess now is a good time because I took, she gave me a series of tests, and on one of the tests, when we got through and we looked at the score, I was severely depressed.
Wow.
And I knew that, Siobhan. This has been something that I've kind of kept quiet. For those that know me in my home, surely they can see something different. I've made it known to members of my family that I'm a little off and I don't feel right. But it's hard to publicly say that I don't have grip on everything, because that's what you're supposed to have. I'm supposed to have the answers. I do a show every week about attitude. I'm supposed to have the answers because I've raised all these kids. I'm supposed to have the answers because, I do what I do, but I don't have all the answers. And I don't know what triggered me being where I found myself this week. I don't know.
Yeah, I was reading that clinical depression, severe depression, isn't really triggered by an emotional event like a death in the family or loss of a job or anything like that. Those are kind of the poor me people that are on the other end of the depression spectrum, which is like just, oh, poor me.
Yeah, yeah.
Sort of very, very, like we're just unhappy, like the
Right, right.
majority of people, we're just unhappy. But do you feel empty? Because these are some of the symptoms of severe depression, is you feel empty, you feel apathetic.
And honestly,
Which it's not really a feeling that people see, right? Because they don't see you going,
that's right.
like I just did.
Yeah, but
before the show, right? That's not a sign of when you're going like, I want to throw my computer out the window. That is not a sign of depression.
I think my turning point, Siobhan, was last week when I really just asked myself that question: is this all worth everything that is going on in my life? The void that I had been feeling, the pretty much a lot of loneliness because of some of the issues that I've been dealing with. My daughter and her drug addiction. Some of my daughters moving back home, moving away from this house into another house that we got at the last minute. It's just so many things, issues with in my marriage. There was just so much, and even though I had people to talk to, I didn't feel that they would understand. That everybody always has an answer of what they would do. Right. And usually 9 times out of 10, and I posted that on Facebook last night, usually 9 times out of 10, the people that tell you, oh, if I were you, I would do this, they usually, Siobhan, wouldn't do it. I've had people say, oh, during the situation with my husband and I, if I were you, I would divorce him right away. I would leave him. I would do this. I would do that. Oh, if I were you and my grown kids are trying to move back home, I would say no. Oh, if I were you and my daughter relapsed again on drugs, I would just wipe my hands of her. These are all things that sound good to the person that's telling you, but reverse that and put them in that position. So I did. I felt isolated.
Mm-hmm.
I felt, well, who the heck am I going to talk to?
Did you feel hopeless? Because you've been at the edge of that cliff. But 5 years ago, before I met you, you felt hopeless that night when you started swallowing pills. Did you get that feeling back?
I didn't get hopeless. I got helpless this time. I had hope. That's the thing that I found was so tricky about exactly what they're saying. I could function in certain.
Are we losing you? Donna? I don't know if anybody can hear me. I think we've lost Donna, so I'm actually going to just bring her back. And while I'm bringing her back, I'm going to talk about some of the symptoms to watch out for, because it's hard to diagnose, I guess. It's hard even for yourself to know what's going on. So they say that the common depression symptoms include indigestion. And I actually know that Donna just had a very nauseous feeling last week. I got you. I'm just talking about the symptoms of depression. So you can get back to what you were talking about, but just I want to ask you this question. One of the symptoms of depression includes indigestion. And a week or so ago, you were complaining, or last show, you were complaining about feeling nauseous.
And what did you tell me how I looked before I had to gussy myself up? I did. I looked like crap, didn't I?
Well, I think it's the worst I've ever seen you look, and I've seen you in person, and just out of bed, and I've seen you a lot
at the dentist.
On camera.
At the dentist,
I've seen you at the dentist. You looked sort of white and ashen, almost like a ghost, but sort of like almost like you had a flu bug or something like that. But
that was really a low point. But again, functioning, I picked up and got right on the air because that was expected of me. And I think that that's what happens with that depression. What's expected of us? I'm expected to be a mom. I'm expected no matter what at 6 o'clock in the morning that I have to wake Ellie up and Michael at 6:15.
Yeah.
Siobhan, I got to get him to school.
Yeah. See, Robin Williams was expected to be a comedian, a comedic
And
actor.
funny.
He had all these projects going. He had a television show. He had, what, he's got 4 movies coming out or something? I mean,
Yeah.
he was expected to be funny and funny all the time. And he was, because he was a genius. It just came naturally to him, and he developed that craft as he was getting older, and he was just a funny man. So it's hard for us to sort of take a look at Robin Williams, who we knew, and Robin Williams we didn't know, right? Because he was the funny man. We didn't know if he had the symptoms of depression because we would never see it as the audience.
Right.
We weren't his family. We weren't his friends. And here's another difficulty breathing is another sign of depression. But I think that might be that heavy feeling in your chest because you're just like,
I agree. I agree.
And, there's tightness in your chest, but some people would probably, say, oh, that I just ate spicy food, or,
That's what I said. I said heartburn.
And then fatigue, and well, we all feel fatigue at some point, and muscle aches, and I feel muscle aches all the friggin' time, but I don't feel that I'm depressed.
Right, but that's just it, Siobhan. How do you feel depressed? How do you know? We have all the things that says, like you were saying, lonely. Those are the main things you would think of one feeling depressed. But how can a person go from, like right now, I'm on the air. I feel good. I felt good at work. I feel good right now. How do we get that, and then all of a sudden you're helpless?
I think that's adrenaline. It's like, you have to perform. You have to be up. You have to get up to go to work. You've got to, get a paycheck to put food on the table, to get the kids off to school. You've got to function. Otherwise, you are a baby sucking its thumb in your bed, and nobody's going to do anything for you. They're going to be like, well, we should commit her. That's right.
You're right. No, you're right.
If everybody who had depression did that, then maybe they'd get treatment faster, but we don't, because we have to do all these things. I think that there's kind of like a split in this. It's you're functioning normally or seemingly normally, but there's this side of you that just is empty, feeling apathetic, and I don't think it's feeling overwhelmed and grieving about this, that, or the other thing. It's just this empty feeling, and it has to be. This is just my opinion, and I could be totally wrong because I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not a psychologist yet. But the thing is, I would think that it has something to do with chemicals or hormones, right?
I agree.
Or it could simply be, like a lot of people will say about autism, there could be a relationship to food, like some allergies to food. I do think that given what we are fed in this world, we don't know what's in our food, right?
Right.
So that could be affecting us. But I think that there is treatment. There are medical professionals that can treat severe depression.
Absolutely. And I believe that as well. But once again, it's that stigma, especially if you're someone like, high profile person. You walk into a doctor's office and you hope that they would keep it confidentiality. And all the while, you're probably wondering, I wonder if this is ever going to get out. If I'm going to look up on TMZ and see, here I am saying I have mental issues or whatever. Because once again, doctors are only human too. They take the oath and whatever. But if you're already dealing with depression and you might be on that paranoid side, that you're not going to go seek the help. And you're worried about what your friends or what your peers are going to say. I never was worried about that. The thing that got me was when my mom came over last week, and she just looked at me and she was like, you know, you're not normal. You have so much going on. And she just point blank said it, you know, and you have so much going on, and you're going to have to slow down. And I kept thinking, why do people always say that? That's the first thing they say is slow down. That's the first thing that comes out of everyone's mouth is really, truly, slow down, take it easy. And they want to tell you to eliminate certain things. Are you drinking caffeine at night? Are you eating hot dogs at night? You know, they want, really, and it's funny because you talk about chemical imbalance and what we're putting inside of us. And those are things that people were saying to me. Because I was like, I'm staring at the ceiling at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I have to get up, you know, in a few hours, having very little sleep whatsoever, but being prescribed something by my doctor that should have knocked me the heck out. But didn't. Yeah, but didn't, because there was something stronger than that chemical inside of me that kept me going. So, you know, it kind of makes me wonder with that, and with people asking about caffeine and things I ate before I went to bed. Did you watch, what, even someone said, what did I watch on television? Yeah.
So, and you know, take it easy. They might, a good vacation usually cures a lot of ails, right? You know,
didn't cure mine.
Taking a weekend and not having the laundry and soccer games and church and baking and cleaning and all those things. If you just took 2 days off and did nothing except maybe go to the spa, a lot of people would think that that should cure anybody of any miserable mood that they could be or in. But this is the problem. This is, you know, for those people that are the poor me's and the misery makers, the Miss Misery, the ones singing the blues, those kinds of people, they need an attitude shift, and we can teach them how to become aware of how they're feeling, and you know, why are you being so melancholy when you have everything going for you or whatever. So that's kind of what the attitude shift would do. But then there's the clinical depression, which is a completely different ballgame, and that's when you need medical intervention. And if you have these symptoms of indigestion, difficulty breathing, tightness in the chest, general fatigue, and you feel apathetic, you know, your kid's getting straight A's isn't gonna, you'd be like, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I mean? You should be really happy your kids are getting straight A's in school.
Right. No, and
you should be really happy your kids are going to school.
That's right.
Right? No. They just started back to school, so you should be like, wow, great.
You should be on cloud 9,
right?
Like me, you know.
But are you? Right? You're not on cloud 9. You're like.
You know what? Yeah, and you're finding more reason to not celebrate that. You know, celebrating going back to school instead of celebrating going back to school. You're so busy going, now I have to worry about uniforms. You know, now I have to worry about school supplies. Now I have to figure out, the money to get this and that. Now here comes field trips. And so you said something earlier, and you said it like twice, I think, so far, about the attitude shift. You know, simply, can you shift out of clinical depression? I'm gonna throw this out there, and because this is my personal opinion, like I said, just like you said, we're not doctors, psychologists, or anything like that, but my personal opinion, I believe that there is some shifting that can be done, because you're going to have to shift to be able to accept help, to realize that self-awareness, you're going to realize that something's wrong. Because for me to call the doctor and say, since the last time you saw me 6 months ago, something's really wrong, that's big. And then I found myself sitting in the room, and I didn't even know what to tell her. Once she started talking.
When you're just being moody.
Right. This is beyond moody.
You know it. You know when you're just feeling lethargic, or, you're just kind of tired because you've overworked, or, you've got too much on your plate, too many money stresses or work stresses or family stresses or things like that. You know the difference between what you're feeling and what, maybe the frustration that I would be feeling today, right? About certain things. I think it's amazing that you recognized that there was something different. It wasn't something that you could just simply attitude shift your way around. It wasn't
No.
it wasn't the moody blues. It's not that. It's it's a it's got to be a chemical imbalance. Something's off, right?
Something was
Something's
off.
just not right, and it can be treated. And therapy is part of it, like clinical psychology is part of it, because you've still got to work on that recognition of the things that are like, what is it that's affecting you?
That's
You
true.
know, because
That's true.
it's probably layers upon layers of things that really make somebody clinically depressed. And we're not experts, you know, we're
Right.
just
No,
talking
but
about it.
right. No, and we don't want anybody writing to us and telling us a bunch of stuff. But what I will say is simply that there is some shifting that can be made in in this situation. But the first thing is not to be afraid to say it. That was the biggest thing for me. And I did peel back layers. I did peel back layers that I had, and I'm still probably going to be peeling back layers. But to realize that, yes, I was going through some and am still going through some form of depression
That's great.
is the biggest thing.
Well, I'm really glad that you recognized it. You're getting help. And I will see you back in your glorious self next Wednesday, whether you're feeling
That's
all
right.
refreshed or
That's
not.
right. That's right.
I'm sure it's not a short-term process to
No.
be treated for clinical depression. And don't let that scare you. Just go to your doctor, do the test that Donna's talking about. It's a written test, isn't it? There's an
Yes,
actual
it
test.
is. I took three tests.
So go do that. Go check it out. But if you're just being a bitchy, you're just being bitchy.
Then go check out some of our shows and archive and get over yourself.
Yeah, really. And it's time to put it in park with that said, because
All
we
right.
always like to leave on a high note.
Well, I'm going to leave on a high note and say, what happened to Robin Williams and millions of other people. It happens. And what happens with that is we cover it up again. We keep covering it up. We keep masking it. This will go away. He will be buried, and we will forget. Except when they do the memorial. We will forget. Because like you said, he wasn't our friend. He wasn't our family member. He was someone that entertained us for years, and we just didn't know. We just didn't get to see that part. So on the high note, you do know who you are, and you do know you know what you're destined here to do. You may not be Robin Williams or Oprah or anybody like that, but you are somebody. You're somebody that counts. You're somebody that's important. And so with that being said, take care of you. Take care of yourself. Get the test if you're feeling a little bit off. Go get tested. Go talk to your doctor. Go talk to someone. It is not an embarrassment. It is nothing to be ashamed about. If you're feeling depressed, nothing to be ashamed about. On behalf of Siobhan Shaw, I'm Donna M. Butler. I'm okay. Really, people, please don't flood me and tell me to go. I'm not going to hang myself or anything like that. Promise. I'll be back next week unless something happens that will keep me from there, but it won't be by my own hand. In the meantime, like us on Facebook, The Attitude Shift. Donna M. Butler on Facebook, Siobhan Shaw on Facebook, and like us at theattitudeshift.com. Keep shifting. Love you. Mwah. Peace out.